Welcome back. The debate over DACA. Texas and 6 other states filed a lawsuit against the federal government yesterday to end the Obama-era program that protects illegal immigrants brought to the United States as children. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton explained why he's challenging DACA during an interview on Fox News last night. Watch.
We're hoping that a federal judge will rule correctly, as they did last time on our DAPA lawsuit, that what President Obama did was unconstitutional and unlawful, and therefore end DACA and force either Congress to act or not act, but it should not be done unilaterally by a president.
Joining us now, Fox News senior judicial analyst, Judge Napolitano. Judge, good to see you.
Good morning.
So the Trump administration has pushed to terminate DACA. We know that, but those efforts were blocked. What about this lawsuit? Is this going to be effective?
No. I think the lawsuit is frivolous, and I'll tell you why. Because there's 3 challenges to DACA, and all 3 have held it in abeyance, in my opinion, quite properly, saying it's for the Congress to rule. The president and the Congress are trying to resolve this. 2 federal judges have already addressed the constitutionality of DACA, and they said you can't kick anybody off the program. The 3rd federal judge here in New York City said not only can you not kick anybody off, but if people have been planning to come on, they have grown up as Americans, they have the right to go in. But I think this should be resolved. All 3 judges said the same thing, by Congress and not by the courts. So I'm disappointed about a 4th lawsuit. I think it's frivolous. I think they're going to lose.
Well, we'll see. I mean, you made a point earlier. You feel like they're going to keep pushing this up until the midterms. I think the Democrats want this to be an issue around the midterm elections.
Yeah, absolutely, because they're going to go out there and say that they, try to work with the president on this and that they weren't able to get it done.
But he had a solution that was better than what they even wanted, and then they blew it off. So, they want this.
I fully agree with Kevin, and both sides are going to say, Republicans are going to say, we tried to work this out. The Democrats wouldn't let us, so we went to court. The Democrats are going to say the president is heartless and these kids are Americanized and he wants to send them back to a country that they don't know anything about.
Exactly. Let me switch gears, ask you about Special Counsel Robert Mueller. He's reportedly raising the possibility of a presidential subpoena now, Judge, during a meeting with President Trump's lawyers if the president refuses to speak with federal investigators. This coming as the New York Times published a list of the questions that Mueller wants to ask the president as part of the Russia investigation. One of the questions from Mueller reportedly reads this: what was the purpose of your April 11, 2017 statement to Maria Bartiromo? It appears to be referencing this response from President Trump when I asked him about former FBI Director Jim Comey last April.
Director
well, that's why I'm asking. Why is he still
No,
in
I'm
the
just
job?
saying, well, because I want to give everybody a good, fair chance. Director Comey was very, very good to Hillary Clinton, that I can tell you. If he weren't, she would be right now going to trial.
So they want to know what the purpose of that was.
I thought the questions were a minefield for the president. I don't know how these questions came about. There's 2 stories. One is that Bob Mueller, as a courtesy to the president's lawyers, because the government never does this, prosecutors never tell you ahead of time what they're going to ask, gave the questions and somebody on the Trump team leaked them. The other version is he verbally gave the questions and somebody on the Trump team wrote them down and leaked them. Both versions say leaked by Trump's lawyers. Why would Trump's own lawyers leak this? To sober up the president. Not that he drinks, but he doesn't, but to make sure the president understands the nature of the questions, the gravity of them, how a long-winded 30-minute rant on Fox and Friends, if reenacted before the special counsel, would be catastrophic for him, how each of these questions requires a great deal of knowledge by the president, and each is a starting point to a couple of dozen follow-up questions.
I think you made the right point earlier in terms of you don't know where this is going. I mean,
you never know what they know about you.
Right.
Correct.
And Judge,
which is the reason he should never sit down with Bob Mueller.
But let me ask you this. So what is the difference, though, between the types of questions that would be asked in an interview that you agree to and what you would be asked under subpoena in front of a grand jury?
It's a great question. In the interview you agree to, you are not under oath and you have numerous questioners and your lawyers are there with you. So he would be questioned by Bob Mueller himself, by other federal prosecutors, and by FBI agencies.
And it's still a felony to lie to them.
Correct.
Regardless of not being
under oath. Before the grand jury, It's a lot more formal. Your lawyers are not there. You are sworn to tell the truth. The last time a president of the United States testified before a grand jury was about himself, and he foolishly allowed it to be televised live in real time. It was Bill Clinton, and it was a disaster for him.
Right.
I don't know if that would happen this time. My advice to Donald Trump would be, do not sit down with Bob Mueller. You are the subject of a criminal investigation. When prosecutors want to question you, it's not to help you, it's to help the investigation.
They say he's not the target, though. They've told him he's not the target.
Target means they're about to indict you. Subject means they're still investigating you. You can go from subject to target like that.
Wow.
Now, the subpoena before the grand jury, he cannot resist it. The courts would enforce it. My advice to him would be to do something he finds hateful. Take the fifth. Do not tell the prosecutors or the grand jury anything. Of course, he has mocked people who take the fifth and said mobsters take the fifth.
Right.
Guilty people take the fifth. Innocent people take the fifth as well to keep the government at bay.
But you can't take the fifth in front of, if you sit down for the interview.
No,
you
the
can't sit
interview
down
is
with
voluntary.
Mueller.
It would be absurd to go there and take the fifth.
Right.
But I believe it's a minefield for him, and the questions were leaked in order to bring that to his attention in a direct and poignant way.
Judge, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great insights, Judge Andrew Napolitano.